CM Punk signs with the UFC, gets called up by everyone except for Christy Mack. This is Clicking Balls.
Yeah, you know, on that auspicious start. One thing I did notice this week, apparently North Korean soccer coach has been banned. So what happens there? Like North Korea, you know, pretty rough place to get fired, I'd say. And if you're in charge of the national, they love their soccer. If you're in charge of the national soccer team, you might end up in a box.
I can't believe they fired him though, because didn't he win the last World Cup?
Last 18, I think. I think it was the Kim Jong Cup.
I think they got beat by Germany, but it was America's fault.
I don't think they got beat at all. They won against Germany 8 or 9-0. I read the North Korean papers.
Oh yeah, but it helps when you've got like 12 players, 2 dear leaders, and Jesus running your water.
A couple of machine guns. All the players were armed.
A bit weak crossing into the box.
They're like 4 feet tall.
Oh, but yeah, they're all midgets. No
Except for one guy who's just ginormous. He's like 8 feet tall. You've seen the photo online?
Yeah, that's just 2 guys.
It's like a military parade. And there's everyone like malnourished and 5'10", and then there's one dude that's just fucking massive, like huge.
You know, Kim Jong Un was a massive film buff.
Yep.
He got that idea from watching Roadrunner cartoons and everything. It's actually just 2 guys and a duck in a coat.
I thought it might have been Yao Ming's just got confused. Fucking retired. What else is he going to do?
Yao Ming got appropriated.
We all look the same. I don't know. I should have turned left at Shanghai.
The same.
Oh, it could have been Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, it could have been.
They're friendly over there.
Dennis Rodman gave a shout out to an AFL player during the week. Jacobs from Adelaide.
Sam Jacobs?
Yeah. He said, I'm over here kicking with my boy Sam Jacobs from the Adelaide Crows.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, one hand I'm impressed with Sam Jacobs. The other hand I'm like, Dennis Rodman, what are you doing with yourself, mate?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, probably made him at a $10 blackjack table or something in Vegas.
No, he'd be craps for sure.
Yeah, I think he's...
I think you're right too. I think it was in Vegas.
Yeah, well,
no surprise.
Do you reckon the casinos want to see Dennis Rodman in there? Or are they just going, fuck no, this guy's too fucking weird. We don't know what's going to happen. He could end up betting his knob. You never know. They've
got bloody, I was going to say Roy HG, they've got Siegfried and Roy dancing with tigers, although they're retired now. I don't think he's the weirdest thing that's gone on in Vegas. I think he's par for the course.
The Dancing with Tigers didn't go so well either.
Just you get bit once. What's the problem?
What was it, twice shy?
They did retire pretty quick.
A couple of gay guys, a little bit of pussy and blood, and they ran out of the place. Just had nothing to do with it.
Weak as.
Speaking... I was going to say, that's a good segue into the UFC with Raquel Pennington versus FNC.
Yeah, Raquel Pennington got she got a boo-boo.
She did. She managed to get a sore on her forehead, or some people call it a vagina.
Now, who was it? Because you were following it on Twitter, where nobody wanted to make the most obvious joke.
Yeah, you can see it. It was MMA Roasted and the other MMA pundits. Everyone's thinking the same thing until one chick fighter finally makes a comment. Damn, must suck to have a badge on your forehead. And
then open season. All right, we're into this now.
Everyone just fired off one out the other. It was like the AK-47 of vagina jokes.
So the other big thing to come out of UFC 181,
the big news that was scheduled ages ago that they just
the big news that no one knew was coming.
They didn't announce it and didn't mention why they didn't announce it. They just had a big announcement and just let it slide without saying anything.
CM Punk signed to the UFC. It's either a great move or one of the most ridiculous cross promotions you've ever seen.
Yeah,
I think it's great that they signed an Olympic wrestler. Oh no, wait, they passed on him, didn't they?
And again they've passed on him, Askren.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very quick to point that out.
He had plenty to say about it.
Wasn't terribly subtle.
Fair play to him.
Yeah, you got to push your own barrow.
And the thing is, especially in the UFC, talk can get you everywhere.
Yeah, and which is almost
except your hand raised.
Yeah. Well, I think he went a bit too far when he called out Hector Lombard. It's like, you can't really call up people who aren't in your organisation because you're not going to fight them, champ.
What Unify might be NWO.
That and the other
Conor McGregor called out Sheamus.
I think Conor McGregor called out God too.
Well, yeah, but the funny thing was, you saw the Twitter play on that one. Conor McGregor's called out Sheamus. Sheamus has gone back.
Talked about it last week.
Yeah. I just love the idea of two Irish guys starting a fight with each other and then going, well, we're bored of this now. We'll fucking fight every fucker here.
Or just someone was jumping in and then both the fighters turn and they go, where the fuck you punching my mate for?
And then it all goes pear-shaped and then they end up just sipping Guinness straight from the fucking tap.
Abusing English.
Wrecked bar strewn everywhere.
Yeah, Bisping wouldn't want to get near it.
No.
Two Irishmen in there. Come here, you greasy cunt.
Fuck this, I'm out.
So, CM Punk, do you reckon he's going to fight? I know they've signed him.
Yeah.
They said he's going to. Do you reckon he will fight?
He'll turn up. I think, I don't know much about the bloke, but if you're going to sign on and, walk away from a pro wrestling contract, it might be just one of those things where he doesn't want to die wondering. And much like Lesnar did, Lesnar had a ridiculous physical advantage over every primate on this earth. CM Punk doesn't enjoy that same advantage.
No, he also has the pedigree of being, he was a legit collegiate wrestler. And that is the building block of MMA.
Yeah.
CM Punk, I'm sure he's done a lot of amateur wrestling. I know he's been working with Henna.
Yeah.
Henna Gracie.
Could be worse people to train with.
This could be exactly right. But it's not the same. And it's not the same
37.
level. 37. It's tough to start a career there.
And also, for people in these situations where they're coming to try MMA, Dana doesn't have a history of feeding them cans. He has a history of proving a point with these people. Look at James Toney. He's Randy Couture.
Well, Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo, yeah, but the thing is, Dana always said Kimbo will never fight in UFC unless he goes to the Ultimate Fighter.
And he did.
Which, what they should have done with CM Punk, put him to the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And also, the weight category he's going to fight in. So he's not sure about middleweight or welterweight.
Welterweight's stacked.
Yeah, middleweight.
I don't think he's going to be worried about the belts too much.
Yeah,
yeah, true.
And the thing is, for someone like that, I think there'd be easier fights at welterweight than middleweight. If you think about the middleweights you're going to fight, there's some badass people in middleweights.
Yeah.
And you're going to be giving away a bit of size there as well. Because the muscle that he's bulked up for wrestling is going to be a disadvantage in mixed martial arts.
Oh yeah, because he'll have to work on his speed and his technique and everything else.
He's going to have to get Gabby Garcia's trainer on there and sort him out.
But he's a smart man though. So he should know his limitations, and he's not going to put himself out there to fight an absolute monster in any of those divisions. But at the same time, being 37, he's been doing pro wrestling for all those years. I mean, that's great, and he's obviously in good shape and that kind of stuff, but
he's damaged.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that Dana White said he's going to fight someone with a similar experience, which is
0-0.
They're all young guys.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be fighting someone 15 to, not quite 20, but 15 to 18 years his junior, who has probably been doing this for a few years anyway, as an amateur.
Or has just finished their amateur career.
Yeah, exactly so. So that'll be 21, 22. Those guys have nothing to lose, and they would love to have that on their record. So they'll try and die in that damn ring if they can.
Yeah.
Just for a chance to prove it.
So now, the other reason they could have signed him, is obviously promotion. And you saw as soon as he got announced, there's every man and his dog who's ever stepped into the octagon has put their hand up. Yeah. I'll fight him. Because they know that they'll get a good place on the card for that one. Do you reckon they've signed him just so Bellator can't?
It seems like that's been a common theory online, especially with those who are the journalists in the know for mixed martial arts. And they said that with UFC, not new to Fox, but relatively new compared to what Fox are doing, and it's a new sort of market. They don't want to give up any share to Spike.
Yeah.
And having CM Punk on a Spike card will gain huge interest there.
Yeah. But have you seen the Bellator version of Tough?
Yeah, yes, I have.
Yeah, you're about the only one.
Yeah, I have. And the thing is, the actual format of that show isn't so bad, but I just think they could have done better with the talent.
But back to Punk, how would Bellator do if they had CM Punk or Phil Brooks?
Well, they'd put him up against tomato cans first.
Yeah. So you build him up just like you would if he was in a wrestling organisation.
Yeah.
Just feed him.
Bellator would have to try and... Because the thing is, if he gets beat up his first match, there's not going to be much interest for his second match.
Yeah.
And so you'd imagine he wouldn't be on a one-fight contract.
Well, Lesnar got beaten in his first match.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't say comprehensively, but
bit of a difference between CM Punk and Brock Lesnar in regards to hype, and
yeah,
Brock Lesnar was just his physical specimen, just looking at that person going in to fight somebody fist to fist
and getting leg locked by Frank Mir. I mean, in his day, I would put Mir in the top of heavyweights. It's
submission-wise.
Best
submission.
I'll put him there now.
Yeah.
Like him, Josh Barnett, whatever his name in the hat.
Yeah, Barnett would after his win over Lister.
Yeah.
Even though it's not MMA.
It's MMA.
But I mean, the other one you'd always say was Big Nog, and he's beaten Big Nog twice.
Yeah.
It stopped him and subbed him. And
the
only guy who's ever done either.
Yeah. It's the end of it. You can't think of anybody else in the heavyweight division that's got those kind of submission wins.
Which is kind of sad, because a lot of the big guys now are monsters. There's not... no, Velasquez has some decent subs, but there's no one who is hunting the sub consistently. Like, they're not hassling them and harrying them in the same way that Mir could.
Stefan Struve was one that did, but then he just got knocked the fuck out a few times and that
starts to wobble around.
But he used to do a really great pull guard and straight into armbar triangle because he's just huge.
He's so lanky, 6'11".
And especially with the heavyweight guys being a bit more stacked up top, it's much easier to, the first round, sink in like arm bars and triangle, things like that, and they still have the grip and just have big muscles and arms to hang on to.
Yeah, and then you got, Roy Nelson, who's a legit jiu-jitsu black belt and competed well at ADCC and that kind of stuff, who wants to stand and throw punches with Mark Hunt.
And the other thing is, it seems funny that, like last year, all the interest around super fights was all welterweight and up.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking now, especially with Showtime's win today and the way that he defeated Gill was just incredible.
Yeah.
The most interesting super fights will be at the lower weights now. Like, you've got Demetrius Johnson, you've got Showtime, you've got Jose Aldo,
when you say
TJ.
When you say super fights, do you mean champion versus champion?
Champion versus champion, but also long streaks versus long streaks. Because there's lots of people who are just off being champions in those weight categories who just can't quite... Like Uriah and people like that who are there. Dominic Cruz, and another one, he's coming back, and I mean, he looked awesome in his return fight. People like that. There's so much stacked talent there who are champions in their own right. And I think those are the super fights that are going to attract the most attention coming up in the future, because...
One that will, though, did you see the promos for Anderson Silva's return?
Yeah, I did.
And Nick
Diaz,
You see, they're the other super fights, because Silva's back and got a big contract.
Yeah.
GSP's coming back, and he's going to... maybe he's not going to fight for the belt, like everyone says. He's just going to do the big super fights.
Yeah.
So you got those kind of guys that are going to chew up those cards.
And they'll walk into legend status. Like, as soon as they retire permanently, they'll be Hall of Famers. Like... It's just done.
Anderson, you could do it tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and GSP's the best welterweight ever.
Exactly. And the thing is, at the higher end, the only sort of fight that interests me would be John Jones versus Kane. So it sort of makes a lot of sense.
That would, just because I reckon Kane would knock him the fuck out.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, he's fighting DC, and from...
See, I'm more excited to see DC and Kane.
Yeah, from the inside word, DC and Kane aren't far off when they spar. Apparently they spar flat out with each other in training, and they're really closely matched. But DC will never fight Kane, so they'll never fight each other. So,
so Jones is with Gustafsson in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Oh, hang on, is it Gustafsson or is it?
Hasn't Jones gone from the penthouse to the doghouse though?
How so?
He was sort of. When he was fighting Sonnen, especially, he was viewed as the nice guy, the fun guy, and since his last couple, everyone just thinks he's a cunt.
Yeah, there has been a lot of, especially online, going against him. And, people have even said there's a racist element to it. But when everyone's he's fighting against DC, he's a black guy too. Yeah. So I'm sure there are people that will find that, and that will be why they hate someone, but. I think it's also he's at that stage where he's so unbeatable that you want to see him beaten.
Yeah.
Just because he's unbeatable, which is the same thing that happened to Silva and the same thing happened to GSP. Although GSP was a little bit different because they thought he was a boring fighter.
Yeah.
And Jones isn't a boring fighter.
And the thing is, he's still a kid. He's still young.
Yeah.
And to be that good when you're that young, you're not only discovering how you are as a fighter, but as a person as well.
And you're in the spotlight now.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, fuck, if they had put a camera on me when I was his age, shit, I'd done all sorts of dodgy shit that I would have had to make apologies and stuff for. And the funny thing I find funniest is when they had this uproar about the fight between DC and John Jones at the media scrum, and they were saying it's terrible for the sport, and it's terrible for this and terrible for that.
Lost the sponsor over it.
Yeah, but the thing is, now it's been the best thing for the rivalry and for invigorating some of that excitement into the light heavyweight division again. Because John Jones in tweeted today is saying, so was that fight I had with DC good or bad for the sport? Because the whole promo around their fight was around that fight.
I'm going to say, yeah, they punish you for it, and then they just keep showing it and showing it and showing it.
Flog it to death. And the thing is, I'm surprised that people are shocked that two guys who are going to fight had a fight.
Yeah, well, it's a bit twofold because they want to portray them as athletes, not thugs, and the fights in the ring. And I think the problem they have with it is if the Athletic Commission has a problem with it.
Yeah.
Then you've got an issue.
Also the Rocky 5 thing. Don't give away for free what we can sell.
Yeah, but also I wouldn't be surprised if they would try and angle into collegiate sports with mixed martial arts, because that way they have legitimate college athletes
and
who are coming out with degrees. They don't have to pay them. Plus, that's much more in line with the American culture where you see someone progress from like high school into college, then into the pros.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Because they did that with their ranking system now. They got that in line, and for ages they didn't want to go down that route. But then Dana said, look, that's what the American people follow. They love rankings on all their sports.
And now it matters with the new Reebok sponsorship.
Because when you see 1 versus 2, everyone's watching that game.
Yeah.
Like that's all the talk about is all week. And so, I mean, I haven't heard anything to say that that's what they're looking at doing, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're at least exploring those options.
It's an interesting concept because, like we said last week, MMA is sort of the sport you do once your sport's finished. You know, they have a lot of collegiate wrestlers who can't make a living as a wrestler post their college career, or ex-football players and ex-boxers and ex-judokas. And so what if you now create them and have a college system?
Yeah.
But collegiate wrestling, you've always got the Olympics is out there, whereas MMA won't have the Olympics. I mean, there's still UFC and wherever else. So it's an interesting concept.
And also the other thing like that would be against it is that Dana wouldn't have control over collegiate sports.
Yeah.
And Dana likes making his money.
Of course he does.
And he's not going to give that shit away to the colleges for free. But the thing is, on the flip side of that, it could be a lot of free scouting for the UFC, having colleges having their own system set up. And the thing is, just because you're in college in that discipline doesn't mean you have to finish college. If they say, hey mate, you want to come find this card? Fuck, you're out of there and you're on that card.
Is boxing a collegiate sport?
I assume so. There's a lot of amateur boxing, but...
Yeah, I'm not even sure. Not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the other thing. I did see that France Judo has... Or was it France? No.
Yeah.
Japanese Judo banned the fighters competing in non-judo sanctioned tournaments.
Yeah, which is dumb.
I mean...
It's... the International Judo Federation, I think it's called, they've banned ranked fighters from competing in any other combat sports.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 or 3 guys that they're really looking at to do it.
But how can you justify that as good for the art?
Yeah.
Like, it's a commercial decision. And that's, if it's a business you're talking about, that's fine. But when you've got guys who are training, learning, growing, becoming better martial artists, does it matter if they call themselves judokas or if they call themselves grapplers or if they call themselves MMA fighters? Who cares? They're travelling along a journey to self-improvement, which is what judo is supposed to be all about anyway.
And the other side of it too, if you've got your world champion judoka who goes and fucks somebody up in a jiu-jitsu tournament, aren't you going to say, hey, he's one of us?
Just like the Gracies did with Sambo tournaments.
Yeah.
How much mileage has judo got out of Ronda Rousey?
Yeah.
Not as much as they should.
Not as much as they should.
Yeah. They should be putting their hand up. There should be 18 guys saying, I totally taught her that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be Ronda Rousey on judo ads.
Hell, Steven Seagal reckons he taught everyone everything.
And the thing is, with that, I think they might end up shooting themselves in the foot because if you're a ranked judo fighter and the UFC offers you a fight, you're not going to go, oh shit, I take the UFC and then I can't go do my judo tournaments.
Do I take the 20 grand or do I go pay the 1,000 grand to go to the next one?
Go fill up my tank and drive 600 miles to go to my judo tournament. And the thing is, if you gotta make a living out of doing something that you love and you put all that dedication into it, you've got to go where people are going to put food on your table.
Yeah, it's a good card though.
It's very good, very good.
Lived up to it.
Raquel versus, I can't remember the chick she fought. She was a late call up because they had
somebody did their knee at.
Yeah, but she's apparently a very highly acclaimed wrestler. Did one for women's wrestling and apparently just killed it. And she's actually winning the first round. She did some really good. Obviously her whole game plan was wrestling, but put her against the cage and got a bit of ground and pound, put an elbow to her forehead, which opened her up. And then in the last few seconds, they're in a scramble, and Evan Smith went for a headlock, and Raquel managed to get her back and tried to put one arm around the back and get hooks in for a choke. But she couldn't get hooks in and ended up getting to the side and getting through a bulldog choke and face planted her just out cold with about 3 seconds to go.
Yeah, it was real late in the first.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
Impressive choke.
Yeah, it was really impressive.
Monster choke for, what are they, strawweight?
Yeah, they're the strawweights that they'll be. Was that 145, 135?
Bantamweight.
It was bantam, was it? Yeah. Because you don't expect that kind of, not the brutality. What do you, thud choke? Brute choke.
Exactly. It's a decapitation almost. Like those shits really put so much, and you can see the chick, she was going to throw a punch to Raquel's face and didn't even get it past her head. Just went up there and bang, face plant. And that chick, she actually put on a really, Evan Smith put on a really good show. She fought really well, especially for a late call-up. But obviously someone like that's always in shape. But look for her again, she'll be back.
What's Raquel Pennington's fighter name?
Rocky.
Oh.
Michelle Rocky.
Well, I guess Vaghead not so much worse then.
No.
Yeah, well, she might be cunning from now on in. It's one way to get out there, because I think Rocky's taken. There's a few.
There's a few.
Yeah. She gets 5 minutes rest for a low blow and a high blow.
That'll do it.
Sponsored by Tampax.
No, well, sponsored by Reebok.
Oh yeah, they've got on board.
Starts July next year.
Exactly. Turns out Nike doesn't know it all.
Well, it's funny. I mean, the same week we've seen a Gracie win a fight and an 80s footwear brand come back. I thought both of those were done, but
Reebok's still been around. I think they sponsored Shaq, but he's been retired for a few years now. I think they're more. I associate them more with football.
Yeah. Does anyone own any Reeboks now? Like, I mean,
you only have bought pumps. That was it.
Yeah,
that is Reebok pumps.
Yeah, and that was 90.
Yeah, and they bought them out again, and they're still the only thing that they sell, I think.
Saying all that, I'd buy a fucking pair of pumps right now.
Probably can on eBay, probably $400 a pair.
Yeah, exactly. Just like
the originals, yeah.
I was actually, that night I was actually deciding who to go for in the soccer when I met West Brom. The mate I met up with, he said he went to a comedy club the night before and he was fucking hammered walking back to his hotel. And there's these people sitting on these chairs on Elizabeth Street, which is known to be a homeless hangout. And so he's like, come along. He's like, oh, how you doing, guys? So he started throwing a bit of change. To which he's got a bit of abuse. These people weren't there homeless. They were waiting for a new pair of Jordans coming out.
This is lining up for it.
Yeah, this is on Tuesday to come out Friday morning.
I think I've just found out what I'm going to do with the next iPhone. It gets released. Go there, start throwing out pennies.
I remember when it was Australian Idol when those first came out. I lived in Adelaide and it was really taken off. And me and a couple of mates, they'd line up at the front of the Adelaide International Hotel, just at the top end of O'Connell Street, and the city end of O'Connell Street, and obviously they line up for days to get in there first, and so we were a bit hammered and we're like, what do you do? Like, we have to go through Waterlooms, people lining up for Australian Idol. Still not going to get out of line and come chase them and line up for a couple of days. So we sat there across the road and started pinging a few water bombs at them. Not one of them came out to chase us.
Did you get the catapult going?
No, we weren't that far ahead. Plus we're too hammered to construct anything.
Yeah, no, they used to have That particular college had a truck where they had prongs you'd put up on the side of it.
Like a trebuchet or something.
Yeah, and then they used those fitness rubbers attached to a bucket filled with like a foam cutout where you could fit 1 or 2 water bombs. And that thing would fire seriously about 1 kilometre. It was brilliant. Some engineering students decided to put his learning to some use that would not be authorised in peacetime of most countries. But fuck me if they didn't blow up pretty nice. And the whole, what the fuck was that? It was fantastic.
Poor little fellas, lining up, ready to sing their hearts out. If any of them started doing singing in the rain, fucking front of the line, champ, you know how to improv.
It'd be even better if you had speakers, put those up there and
the problem would be if you started fucking around with those guys too much, is you'd slip into Triumph, the Insult Comic Club, because nobody's done it better than him.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just, you can't beat it. So anyway, this started talking about Reebok and the sponsorship deal.
Yeah.
The only concern I've got with it is you'll lose the variety of the walkout. You're not going to have James Tahuna in his black tie doing Men in Black anymore.
Yeah,
because
true.
He's lost his costume.
Yep.
But like Kenny Florian will get rid of his Raiden costume, which is the good side of it. How many different designs they're going to have? Because obviously there's going to be people that prefer different colours, and then you can't have them all just in the same design. Because even professional sports have different Guernseys for different teams.
Yeah.
So they've got to juggle that up. Because we're not arguing about is it going to happen. It's happened.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
signed.
Yeah,
they're doing
done.
it.
They already got the cash.
Well, based on merchandising, Reebok would have to. I mean, it's one of the things where if they've only got 2-3 designs, they can only sell 2-3 designs.
Yeah.
If they make, one for the heavyweights, one for the strawweights, one for the bantamweights, and then one for the guys, one for the girls, one for fucking Anderson Silva coming back with, I don't know, a spider, who knows. They'll make so much merchandise that it won't even be funny.
But you don't want, a red singlet with black outline with the surname on it, and then just change the surname. It's just not going to work.
Like tough uniforms.
Yeah.
Since 1882.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously they're going to have a few, and the fighters get to choose and that kind of stuff. I mean, it is kind of a shame that you will lose that variety.
Yeah.
But I mean, their argument for it is one, there's a fuckload of money. But also there's, the late call-ups don't have to go spending 3 weeks ringing around to try and get
Dynamic fastener or something on board.
condomdepot.com.
Also, the other thing was, if it's purpose made for MMA, because there's not many brands that are made for MMA fighting, especially for women. Because Ronda Rousey's complained a couple of times about her boob popping out. While she's knocking people out, she's like, my tit's popping out.
You would have thought Misha Tate would be the one complaining.
She
paid good money for him.
Dana White probably sabotaged him. Just fucking right off the roof.
It's Dana White, not Vince McMahon.
But, I think it's like Nike when they enter the NBA. People were like, well, if it's just one brand, there's how many ranges. But then they started involving the actual players. You get, Jordans.
Well, they entered the NBA with Jordans. Before that, it was, it wasn't even considered. And it was, Converse was kind of the NBA brand, but it wasn't big. And then Jordan, in his first All-Star game, wore a Nike tracksuit.
Yeah.
And that's where Magic and Isaiah and all them got the shits with him.
Yeah, that's right. And that was just after also when
85
Nike had they marketed Bo Jackson as the all-round athlete when they started doing cross trainers and things like that.
Yeah.
And that was the Bo Nose baseball, Bo Nose football.
Yeah.
That's why they got the Anderson nose and all that sort of stuff now.
Yeah.
But that was where they sort of realised that you can market a whole product line around one person.
Yeah, what I mean is now, though, they've learned from that. So now you've got, LeBron shoes, Jason Kidd shoes, everyone. So they'd be absolutely mad if they didn't have some sort of, for the peak athletes, to be involved in the design and the marketing of their wear.
Well, we were talking about it before, and it became pertinent today again with the Uriah Faber fight with the massive eye poke. Mm-hmm. Well, if Reebok's on board, the first thing they've got to look at, get the uniforms sorted and the different varieties. Fix the fingerless gloves.
Yeah.
You get a glove that works.
And get onto these cups that Joe Rogan keeps talking about. The steel cups, the Thai ones they use apparently where it's not supposed to actually hurt your nuts, even though you get kicked in the nuts.
Oh, yeah, but there's going to be some guys that will miss that 3-minute break they get mid-round.
Check Congo's out, he's all good.
I've seen a few others that have liked it too, yeah. But yeah, if they're going to... And they've said that they want to invest in the sport and try and, make better uniforms and equipment and all that kind of shit, which, they're mad not to.
Exactly, especially since they're already dominated in most sport markets at the moment. This one's still up and coming.
Saturated too.
Yeah, it gives them a chance to sort of start ahead of the other big competitors that they have in other sports.
It is just kind of funny that essentially it's a footwear brand and they're sponsoring a sport where they don't wear shoes.
Oh, well, they're so much more than footwear these days.
They are, yeah. They have to be.
And the other offshoot of it is now all these sponsors, they've got another 6 or 7 months with their current fighters.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can sponsor them outside the cage, which, some of them will, but it's not as valuable. But now there's all the guys in Bellator and ONE FC who are going, guys, you're looking for someone to sponsor? I'm your billboard.
Yeah.
It's even funny when they do that though. Like, they put their hand up like, hey guys, I'm available. And they're like, James McSweeney, settle the fuck down. You can fuck right off.
Oh, gets his face on TV.
Ever since McSweeney was in that tough season with Roy Nelson and all those guys, he was a twat.
What I don't get about that season either, and this is going back to tough 10 or 12 or something like that.
Yeah, about that.
Was McSweeney was talking it up all the time in the house, and somebody's got to play the bad guy. But it was working on so many of the other guys that were just intimidated by it. Even to the point where Kimbo Slice wouldn't take the fight. Against him. He was like, oh, not him.
Yeah.
Like, really? Because it didn't impress me that much. Roy Nelson knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And was an expert in not giving a fuck.
Yeah. You gotta love a guy like that.
Oh, why not?
I mean, not similar in the fact that people didn't have a reason to be intimidated, but it's kind of like Diego Brandao when he was an Ultimate Fighter and he was just the destroyer. Everyone.
That's different. He looks scary.
Yeah.
In the octagon.
Then he steps in the UFC and just gets fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, Uriah Hall did the same thing.
Yeah.
Damn near killed a couple of guys.
Jonathan Brookins.
Yeah, Jonathan Brookins, such talent, but can't keep his chin tucked. And
I saw he started fighting again.
Did he?
This year and last year.
I wouldn't be surprised if
in China.
Him and Ricky Williams were good friends.
It did say that he gave up. He was looking to pursue yoga full time.
Yeah. Well, I think Ricky Williams actually. What do they call the yoga instructors? They're
yogi.
Yoga
instructor. Yeah, yogi. He's actually a yogi.
But you see, Mickey Rourke had a boxing match.
Yeah, I did. Fucking hell.
I think he stood in the ring wearing boxing trunks and boxing gloves, but I wouldn't say he had a match.
I think it's like Scott Hall having a wrestling match.
Apparently the other bloke was homeless or some shit, and he did it as a favour to try and get him some money. But you'd have... I don't know why he would make such a big song and dance about this whole thing. Like, Mickey Rourke can just give a bloke money if he wants to, but to say, all right, I'll give you money if I can pound you for a little bit.
Kind of like a hooker, really.
There are a lot of people that do that. Yeah.
Now that I think about it, when you look at most of the fighters' walkout shirts, majority of them suck anyway. I think the only person that has one of the most decent logos would be Cub Swanson. He's got that bear he's got on the hat. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
It looks pretty sweet. Like, that's sort of a good logo that you can actually sort of mark around. But
I like J-Lo.
What's worse, their logos or the songs? Because some pretty shithouse songs.
Yeah, there are, but I mean, well, we already talked about Rory McDonald, didn't we?
Yeah. It was somebody else picked his music for him.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And even on the UFC today, Travis Brown came out to the haka.
Did he really?
Yeah. Came out and he's Hawaiian, so he came out to the Polynesian haka.
Yeah, why would you... The Polynesian haka.
Yeah, apparently.
So it mustn't be called the haka then.
Well, there's heaps of different types of hakas.
Yeah. I've seen, when New Zealand plays Tonga in the rugby, they have a bit of a dance-off to begin with.
Yeah, but the thing is, even within New Zealand, apparently there's all different hakas, because they will have it as their school song, more or less. And so even each different county or whatever they have over there, a different haka. So a lot of times, even when you see on the All Blacks play, whether it be league or union, a lot of times they'll do different hakas.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just that New Zealand embraced the Maori culture so much that they're the one that popularised it, because the haka, the other guy was...
Polynesian, yeah.
I don't know if embraced or just had no choice. Just the way it went down.
Well, the English did sort of... They're the ones they signed a treaty with, but I remember the guy that played Drago in Game of Thrones, Khal Drago.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
His audition tape, he did the haka.
Yeah.
Because he's Hawaiian. Tell you what, he did it pretty damn well too. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a very much Pan-Pacific Island thing. It's just that New Zealand are very famous for it, and they'd probably do it the best, to be honest. Because every so often, there's always the talk, well, New Zealand, the All Blacks do the haka. How come the other teams don't get to do it? Should we ban it?
Well, they do. The other teams get to do it, but it's always funny, the haka, because they always have a go, what do the Australians do while they're doing it? And if they're all huddled and they're staring them down, they get in trouble for that. Yeah. If they go back to their positions, they get in trouble for that. I'm like, yeah, and they're saying, you've got to respect them. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, you're just trying to play a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we get it so with... Yeah, okay, now we can go play.
No, see, the other way, I love seeing the haka. I think if they removed it from the game would lose something. And I only say that because I don't watch much rugby union.
Yeah.
But I watch the haka.
But I bet you if New Zealand were playing anyone, you'd watch the first 5 minutes and see the haka.
Well, yeah.
The weird thing is, though, you see it everywhere now. Like, at the start of the St Kilda games, they have Maori people in dress doing the haka.
Oh, they did that for that one game because they
they've done it for a few games. I've seen it a couple of times.
Yeah, it was tied up with their New Zealand sponsorship. Who was that game we went and saw? Was it Saints in Richmond last year?
The St Kilda team did the haka?
No. They had some New Zealand dancers lining up when they ran onto the field.
Right, I was going to say.
Tell you what, there's some big boys.
That would have been the most unintimidating haka ever. St Kilda had done.
I mean, they've been good this year.
Haven't heard anything from them. They take that as a win. No.
Of course you would.
No pictures of knobs out there. No.
Oh, there were plenty of pictures of. Can't even name a St Kilda player. They've been that quiet, I've forgotten every colour on the team.
well, anyone you know, they trade them away anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in the last couple of years, they've got rid of Goddard, Del Santo. Yeah. They got rid of Reece Stanley this year.
Yeah.
They must have Richmond's trading department.
They let go of Malera for nothing, didn't they?
Yeah, Malera and Gwilt. Gwilt's gone to Essendon.
Yeah.
But in fairness, Goddard and Del Santo, I don't think they're really too fussed.
They're happy.
They're not really hating how their careers have turned out after leaving St Kilda.
And they've both, benefited the teams they've gone to, which helps.
Yeah, I mean, Goddard might be the only person playing, depending on how Asada goes. But, Del Santo played finals. Reebok can't say the same.
Oh, not the last couple of years, yeah.
And it seems like, I don't know, Essendon, they're in turmoil off the field, but even their on-field team doesn't seem like they're recruiting for development. It seems like they're recruiting to try and get results now.
Well, yeah, Goddard was, I still reckon, he was on top of the game. Chapman's 32-ish.
Yeah.
And had a good season.
Yeah.
His first season. Cooney.
Yeah. The thing is, if you were bordering on top 4, making a push for a premiership, you'd take on Cooney, you'd take on Chapman. Or if you had midfielders who needed direction, you'd take on Chapman.
No, I think Cooney's value.
The midfielders stand alone by themselves. They already know what they're doing.
Yeah, we got Watson and Heppel.
Yeah.
But, yeah. You reckon Cooney's good?
No, I think he's good value. Because they would have got him for next to nothing.
Yeah.
Because he's at the arse end of his career. He's had injuries. But
his knees are gone.
Yeah, but you give the young players someone to look at. And, they've got a great midfield. But they don't have that style of midfield.
Yeah, I think they've got a good starting midfield, but like you saw this year, you need 6 or 7 to rotate through. And, I think Heppel might have even won their best and fairest this year.
Yeah, I think.
But you got Watson when he's fit. He missed out a lot this year. Heppel, and then it starts to get a little bit thinner after that.
And it just seems to me like they might be setting themselves up to be the gatekeeper of the finals, as opposed to making a real run at it.
They like Uriah Faber.
Yeah, exactly. Except you don't like Essendon.
Well, no one wants to talk about Asada anymore.
No, we don't.
It'll be kind of funny if things go pear-shaped and then all of a sudden they go, well, we missed out on finals. What the fuck? So what happens then? They got pulled out of the finals and it ends up get dropped or whatever.
So by pear-shaped, you mean the Asada's got nothing?
Yeah. Or, it gets dropped, or even if it keeps going another year, Essendon could easily say, well, this isn't cut and dried. Why are we punished before we've been proven guilty?
Well, they weren't punished by Asada, though. They were punished by the AFL.
Even so, same thing.
No, but it wasn't. The difference was, what was it? Bringing the game into disrepute. And you can't argue that there's been disrepute for 2 fucking years.
And the thing is, I think sooner or later it's got to come down to a point where they just go, you know what, fuck this. Just have some common sense. And instead of trying to be, clever with lawyers and say, well, technically it wasn't really this. Like, you can push that shit aside and say, look, you did the wrong thing. You fucked up. You got caught. What's done is done. Play on from now. Just go.
the damage has already been done. They've already suffered.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mind all if they just went, you know what, just fuck this shit off now. Like,
remember there was that court case with C7 when they were doing the pay TV footy way back. We were talking late 90s, I think.
Yeah.
And it went on and on and on for ages. And at the end of the day, one of the judges said, "Look, at some stage, litigation must cease."
Yeah.
Which is, judge speak for fuck this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've reached that point.
Yeah, and I think even if the Asada case does fall apart, and it's not that they don't have a case, it's just with methods and technicalities, more or less.
And there's so much going on that we've got no clue on.
In this situation, you need like Bill Harrigan or someone as the judge and just go, now look, you fucked up over there, you did the wrong thing, and you guys fucked up trying to tell them off for doing the wrong thing.
You're all fucked up.
No, you got a point there. I reckon trial by combat.
I challenge you to a duel.
Exactly. I don't know who Asada's got on their payroll. I'm guessing not many people. But, how funny would it be to see that go down?
All right. So you nominate your champion, and if it's a duel, whoever's challenged, the person that gets challenged gets to pick the weapons. Yep. So Asada challenges Essendon, right? They nominate Dustin Fletcher and say the duel is old age. Fuck, they'll win.
Or unless that challenges peptides.
All of a sudden, Benny Cousins has got a contract with Asada. He's back.
He's the guinea pig.
The sales of peptides have actually skyrocketed.
Of course they have.
But that's the thing, like, peptides is just a basic thing. Like, you join peptides up, they form an amino acid. Join amino acids up, they form a protein. It's like saying bricks are dangerous. So many different types.
They are. Have you ever tried to inject a brick? Fuck you up. See? There you go.
I just try to shelve it. Haven't sat down right for a week.
You have no idea what shelving is, do you?
No, I've got it. Upper decking.
Caught up? Yep, that'll do.
All right, so something more positive on the AFL. We spoke about the elections in Victoria last week on the first episode. And I hesitate to say it, but the good guys won because they got one thing that we wanted, which was the MMA cage ban. Well, they haven't actually lifted it yet, but they said they're going to. And Dana White is on board, which means there's too much money for him to back away now. But the other thing, which is they mentioned it a little while ago, and I didn't know they were going to follow through with it. There is now in Melbourne a public holiday Friday, all of Victoria, public holiday Friday before grand final.
So see, he understands Victoria so much better. In the match of the election was pretty much cunts versus arseholes. The arseholes won, and they've gone, all right, we know we're arseholes. You guys are arseholes too. Have a free Friday. Fucking, he could have dumped that any time. If he had made that a core election promise, he would have got in.
It's like when you've got a kid and they go to their mum asking for something like lollies, and the mum's like, no, you got to be good and try and teach them the right lesson. And then dad comes along and goes, yeah, fuck it, have the lollies. That's what it's like.
KFC for dinner tonight, yeah.
They've got the least amount of effort, just get in there and then you're set. But it's funny watching, like we're talking about the advertisements they'd use, and if Labor gets in power, they're going to bring in the cage. Like, all right, well, want the cage? Sweet, check. All right. They're going to cancel the East-West link. Sweet. Yeah, fucking driving's expensive, and I get caught speeding, so I don't want to have to drive anywhere else.
If I don't have to go to Western Melbourne, I'm happy.
Yeah, so I'm like, the opposition made my choice for voting really easy by making me aware that the opposition was going to do all the things that I actually wanted.
That's the East-West link. Like, for whatever reason, who the fuck is going from East Melbourne to West Melbourne? I mean, the only time you go from East Melbourne to West Melbourne is to pick up your car that's been stolen in East Melbourne, has ended up in West Melbourne. So letting the car thieves getting there a bit quicker is not good for anyone.
Oh, let the tow truck get there, I guess.
They're from West Melbourne. It's the same blokes.
Well, I think they already set the precedence with the Peninsula Freeway to Frankston. Now you can have your car stolen from the city and be chopped up in Frankston in like 30 minutes.
Well, I tell you what, if I'm going to get my car stolen, I want my insurance money quick. So if they can sort it all out, find the wreckage.
They can get it as far away as possible. Just chase down the border.
Especially my car, I'll give them a 2-day head start.
They might need a 2-day head start with my car. Get it started first.
If they can get it started, they've earned it.
I just had a story, but remember I claimed insurance on that one?
So, you reckon that the public holiday Friday is going to mean that next year's grand final parade is the most ever, or is everyone just going to go, fuck this, I got the day off?
Oh, I think there will be a group of people will go to see the grand final parade. Mainly families, because kids bring along, see the colours, whatever. Yeah. But then you're going to get the yobs who are going to be like, I'm just going to get plastered
all
weekend.
There's going to have to be so many pubs and stuff putting on events for the rest of that afternoon.
There's going to be people that come Thursday afternoon, they're like, right, we're getting fucking hammered.
Yeah.
And we're going straight into the grand final parade.
Yeah.
It's going to be more heckling than probably India fielding at the MCG.
I'd like to start getting our kebab vans ready for Friday morning. And there's going to be so many people like, oh, yeah, I'll have a bacon and egg kebab.
Funny thing is, there's no office workers there because they were, most of it for that parade. They'd be on their lunch, stick their head out the window.
Yeah.
Now there's going to be nothing. All the buildings will be closed.
There'll still be, I guarantee there'll still be people down there though. I reckon it's good, day off.
So will we lose another public holiday, or is this just an additional sneaky one?
What? It's another sneaky one, I think. They haven't mentioned. I mean, what are the ones you're going to take away? Labor Day or Queen's birthday? Because
she's still alive, isn't she?
Well, they're not fucking touching the Melbourne Cup public holiday.
No, of course not. You can't give them a public holiday for the AFL and then take away Melbourne Cup.
Rich people get object.
Because the thing is, there's going to be a lot of bored bosses at work with no employees.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be pretty hilarious. I mean, Melbourne City, mostly office workers and everything, and not traditionally the people that would go to football matches regularly, but they'll see the parade. But without them, you're going to end up with either the hardcore fans and families, or just the drunk fuckers who just enjoy a public holiday off. Should be a good result either way.
Kind of sounds like Broadmeadows.
Just in general.
Yeah, just in general.
Been to the Broady Dogs. It was a good night.
Had a good week.
Yeah, people hanging out of cars. Yeah, just like the parade.
Yeah, even kept my money too. And a car.
Yeah, just not your shoes.
No, you can't have shoes and walk in there. Neat casual.
Alright, so the other issue I want to bring up from episode 1 was your EPL side, Brenton.
Oh, the baggies.
The baggies.
The baggies. On the West Brom Albion.
Right, so you are signed on now.
I mean, it's official. It's been put on Facebook.
It doesn't get more official than that.
Exactly right. I've got no way to back out of it now. So
can you name a player?
On board. Yes, Foster, the goalkeeper.
Shit, you got one up on me then.
Well, that's the person I see the most of because I always get fucking goals scored against him. So if I don't know that dude's name, I've got to abuse somebody on the team, and he's got the most of it.
So you haven't really changed teams, but you've picked a new one. You flirted with other teams before committing.
I had a look around. I was for the longest time, it was just trying to pick anyone where I knew players, and the only player I knew was Tim Cahill. So I was kind of going for Everton, and then he leaves that season. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to follow not that I don't want to follow, but there's not as much interest in the American League. And plus, the times that they play weren't concurrent with the times that I'd be at work on night shift and watching EPL. And the hard part was picking a team that wasn't good, because I don't like jumping on a team when they're at the peak. Yeah, you can't just jump onto the coattails. Yeah, exactly. What's the point? You've got to suffer in order to appreciate. Exactly.
You've got to earn your fandom.
Yeah,
and North Melbourne and Richmond, we fucking earned that well over.
I got a baptism of fire at that one because we got beat. It was 3-0 by Arsenal. We actually got up at 7 in the morning to watch that. My first West Brom game. I was excited, and true to form, my cousin told me that I was going to be stoked cheering for Richmond this year if I'm going for West Brom. And he's exactly right. We got spanked 3-0, and then it was a
Hull.
Yeah, I saw Hull versus West Brom. I thought, Hull, all right, having a fuck all about them. We got a chance of beating these guys. So I watched the game, and it was a 0-0 ball. And not only was it just a shit game, it was just the most basic skill errors. And so I'm expert on soccer already.
Expert on the EPL, you've got it nailed.
And I even bought FIFA 14.
14?
Bought, yeah, just so I can get used to my team. And haven't won a game yet on amateur level.
But I don't mind that, because whenever I play, those management style ones where you take the team all the way through, you always pick your own side and try and tweak them without making too many.
Well, it's the best. FIFA's the action one where you actually control the player.
Yeah, but you do season mode.
No, I out and out cheat. I recruit or make my own players that are all ridiculously awesome.
Yeah. Of course you do.
But the main point for me doing that was I wanted to get to know my players.
Yeah.
I know I'm pretty well now.
Pay them all.
I tell you what, I'm already cursing the manager the fuck out of there.
You can create a player?
You can, but I chose...
you've got to put Tambling on the bench.
Thing is, I was going to create a player, but if I was a player, I probably wouldn't want to play for West Brom.
So, you've got to play in the big leagues.
Yeah, but even that's not looking so good.
I think that last I looked, I think they were 17th or 16th. So they're not quite in relegation, but the first half of the season they had draws and losses against teams that you'd hope.
Yeah.
These are the ones you bank these wins until you face the big guys.
Yep. Because especially where I'm judging like my predictions based on where everyone else is on the ladder. Yeah. Not a lot of wins looking ahead of us.
Actually, it's funny. I was playing 15 the other day, and the wife came in and thought it was really weird. And I was out and out cheating. Like I'm playing as Arsenal.
I think I was playing naked.
Well, that too. But you got to get that other stick working somehow. But
it's for the trigger.
Physical jokes don't work in this medium. But
probably best because I'm naked.
I wasn't just cheating by stacking my own team. I was de-stacking the other team.
Of course.
So the smallest size you can make the players is 4'11", and my guys are all 6'4".
So you're the reason that the North Korea coach got sacked. You put his side.
We did win 18-0, and I'm not a terribly skilled player. And I'm pretty sure they subbed out their goalkeeper at some stage.
The keeper.
They've done the hockey thing. They pulled the keeper, and they might have had 19 strikers.
I think it went straight to a work camp.
Yeah, they're running around on a farm now.
Yeah.
They're all free.
Or at the Wonka factory.
He's out to stud.
You picked West Brom and you can't change now.
I can't. I'm stuck with them. So it's looking like we're going to be killing the championship
next year.
Yeah.
So you wanted to talk about when is it okay to change teams?
Yeah, never. Especially from a player's perspective, because especially with Trent Cotchin signed on for Richmond for another 5 years, which as a Richmond supporter I was actually a bit surprised because I thought he'd given a lot to Richmond and he's going to be towards the twilight of his career and he might go chasing premierships. And I was thinking if he did do that, I actually wouldn't hold it against him. Because I think he's done a lot for the club and his captaincy's been good, and it's different now. Now that we've got a football department and you've got a business department of any club, that whole loyalty card just doesn't play both ways.
See, I think the loyalty's still there.
I think it's still the fans more than anything else now.
Of course, it's still there with the fans, but even like Trent Cotchin could have made much more money on the open market. Yeah. He was a free agent at the end of this year, so he signed up. There is still loyalty there, but now there's the price is on loyalty. So it's not just a moral decision anymore. It's a financial one.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it happened with Hawthorn last year with Franklin. The rumours all year going to GWS, and then it's announced 10 million over 9 years. And even I've gone, shit, mate, you're an idiot if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Doesn't. That's not just a career. That sets you up for life.
Yeah, yeah. And not only just you, it sets your family up for life.
And then there's people like Ryan Griffin, who switched sides, and you know, not really on the most pleasant way out the door.
Exactly.
Well, people don't tend to, fans, clubs, everyone don't tend to like when their captain leaves.
Yeah,
they make this big deal about it, and you know.
The last one I can think of was Lee Colbert.
Yeah, left Geelong to go
Geelong. I know there was others because we was talking about it before. There's been others since then, but he's the one who put his hand up and said, "I want to go."
Yeah.
Did Judd leave as captain?
Yes.
Yeah.
Judd did. Of course he did.
Yeah.
But I think everyone sort of understood.
Yeah.
Why he was leaving, and especially
his wife needed a job.
I think it was like rats from a sinking ship from West Coast to that period.
That was a little bit.
Or rats from a flying ship, one of the things.
The cuz. I'd love to go to Vinny one day and have a chat.
Ask for a chat, you might not be able to shut up.
I wouldn't. So, players changing teams. What about the younger guys who, you know, and GWS are going to have trouble with this in the coming years?
Young guys leaving. Well, teams like GWS, I think, are in a unique situation where they've been given so many high draft picks that they just have an influx of young players. And I think part of their strategy has to be developing that talent with the option of trading it out to get the experience they need to develop the rest of the talent that they have. So for young players looking to leave GWS or GWS trying to trade off the younger players, I think it's essential for them in order to be able to get the balance they need to be a competitive side, because you can't just have all youngsters in there. And it seems like they're a bit overcrowded with their draft picks, but they've got good solid draft picks, but they're going to need experience to show them how to play AFL way, and not even play, but train the AFL standards.
Well, they're coming up to their 4th season now, and they've already lost quite a few, because I mean they've had Miles go to Richmond.
Yeah.
Another couple who've gone to Essendon, and God, there's one at Port Adelaide I can't think of right now.
Oh.
John O'Rourke has just left. Boyd, of course.
Boyd left, yeah. Got Patton injured for a while.
Well, Patton, he hasn't left, but at least he's still there.
Yeah.
So they're starting to. It's more looking like a side now.
Yeah.
And
I think they might be a bit lucky in the sense that they've had Gold Coast to sort of beat a path for them in how you should start from scratch.
Well, they've kind of taken different tactics. Like Gold Coast, they got Gary Ablett, a few other players. Campbell Brown to look after Gary Ablett, essentially.
Yeah.
But I honestly think, in terms of distance from a premiership, GWS are closer.
I thought so too until Patton got injured and Boyd left. Because that's just such a good forward 50. Patton could have been anything.
Yeah. But
2 knee recos is just you changed.
Especially a big frame like that.
Yeah.
Your resilience to sort of structural knees and joint injuries isn't as good as the people who are a bit lighter on their feet and don't put as much pressure on those, especially as a ruckman where you're jumping all the time. That's your role. You jump.
Yeah, well, I mean, you try and play him as a centre forward more, and he's going to be he was a massive unit who was still pretty mobile, and you just worry about that. Because I thought the same too. I thought that GWS had picked a better side at the minute, with the exception of Gary Ablett. But the other thing with GWS is that Tom Scully's big contract ends next year or the year after. So they're going to have a shitload of money. So they can get their Gary Ablett. I think, I'm not sure if it ends this year, but if it ends this year, then there's Paddy Dangerfield's on the market. He's the only superstar on the market. The following year, I don't know who's on it. So
following year, who would you chase? Like, don't worry about contracts; they're all torn up all the time anyway. If you're GWS, you'd probably look for a midfielder.
Yeah, or besides Dangerfield, Fife. Fife's the one I'd want because he can run, he can jump.
And you need someone who's going to be a strong leader of that club as well to really pull the reins. And Dangerfield would be a good recruit, but I can't see Dangerfield wanting to go to a side like that at that point in his career.
I can't see him leaving Adelaide.
No. And he'd be leaving to chase premierships, that's it. But the thing is, the way Adelaide are going, they're sitting pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
They're around the mark.
They got all the ingredients there.
Yeah.
And a new coach this year, so you've got to see what they're like after that.
Which I think was interesting as well. I thought Sanderson was doing a pretty good job.
I didn't see any problems with it. I mean, they were, half a win outside of the finals.
More board related.
Well, no, the common stories was player related.
Yeah.
Players just didn't want him there, and eventually there were so many of them that they thought, well, there might be something about this.
Which is kind of the same way that Neil Craig went.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're kind of doing a bit of a Richmond. They're just changing coaches until something happens. But having said that, the talent's there. They've got the cattle. Yeah. So if it's not performing, someone gets the blame. In this case, it's just the coach, and that's often the case when a AFL team's underperforming.
It's a bit Fuzzy Adley and Eddie Betts.
Yeah.
Both of them had a good year. Better than I would have thought. Yeah. Better than I expected from them.
Especially Podsy Adley covering Walker when he was injured.
I think he did quite a good job. Yeah.
And Betts, that fucking freaky pocket goals that he does. Those snaps from 45 out.
Still kick 50.
That was one of the best years he's had.
Yeah, it's already like career best almost.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just really nailed that roving forward role.
Well, he does. One of the criticisms of his game is the defensive chase and tackle and that kind of stuff hasn't really been there.
Yeah.
But if you can come and kick a goal and make the headlines.
Yeah, and especially in that role, you can say that his defensive pressure isn't there, but it is hard to run out a game where you're always trying to be a step ahead and you always have to be running flat out. And your defensive pressure, you can keep that up for a little while, but not over the whole game for a whole season. And I think last year Richmond showed that at the start. They had a really good run, and a lot of it was down to their forward pressure, where you have man on the mark who's jumping up and down and trying to move with that pressure on.
Is it Ellis?
Yeah, Ellis. Yeah,
Ellis and who's the other blonde head? Not Floston.
Floston.
He's one I noticed because obviously we've seen a lot of Richmond games.
As well.
Morris is the one I'm trying to think of. He's always active on the mark.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes a big difference to decision making for the other players because they intrinsically automatically feel rushed.
Yep.
And so they're making rush decisions. They're not having that time.
The opposition player.
Yeah, the opposition player. Yeah. They're not having that time to where it is irrational because they've got that time, they're taking the mark, and they can settle down and relax.
Yeah.
But you're thinking in split seconds, and just you being around them and being active like that does make a difference to the way that they'll think.
Yep.
What about the guys that get a bit shagged doing it though? Like maybe we should practice that more at training.
Yeah, well, star jumps, jump and squats and.
Well, it's not like the old days when you see Wayne Schultz get his knob out.
Well, the best, and that's another thing, is just standing on the mark for goals. So some people just put their hands up and don't really put in effort. But I always found from playing and when I watched, the best way I found to put someone off was to go back about 20 paces.
Yeah.
And as they're running to kick it, you sprint flat out towards them. Because only you remember where the mark is.
Yeah.
And so they start thinking, fuck, it's getting close. It's close, it's close. And they'll start panicking. And that was the best way I had of putting people off kicking a goal.
What's the penalty if you don't stop at the mark and just tackle them? 50 metres?
Metres, yeah.
All right, do that in the first quarter, and then for the rest of it...
just right.
And you got to say to him, I'm only going to do it twice.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do it once.
So that's what I mean. No 50-metre penalty. You're giving away a goal, yeah. But for the rest of the game, you guarantee that guy's going to be looking to pass off.
Yeah, or he could just put a torpy at your nose.
Or on the knackers. I mean, that's happened too.
Like the longest yard.
Yeah, exactly.
Whack in the nuts. Yeah, well, we'll think twice about it before he does that.
Maybe he'll let me have my little peaceful shot on goal.
No, defenders don't do that. They don't give a fuck. I mean...
Like I say, they don't do that? Are you kidding me?
No, who would you say is the prettiest defender of all time?
Alex Rance.
And I guarantee you, the list of the ugliest...
much longer. That's the competition. Yeah.
There's Mick Martin, and then there's
Daylight.
Everyone else.
Oh no, Danny Southern.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of ugly backmen. It's almost you can if you lined up all the players, you go, oh yeah, there he is.
It's a target-rich environment. That one.
You're rich with before models.
But you see, the forwards, less so this day, but pretty face, but the back of the head is full of lumps. Because that's where
especially all the nicks.
Brian Lake said, "Oh, sorry, I thought it was the ball." He did it in the grand final, one where Franklin actually marked it, and he's gone down and gone the forearm with the back of the head. It's like, "Oh, it should be 50." I'm like, "He's an old backman.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't take that away from him."
I think they should each get a get out of jail free card, the backman, because they've got nothing else now. You can't chop the arms, you can't shepherd off the ball, you can't surf run. All they can do is really tease the bloke. He goes up for a mark, he's like, "You shithead, shagged your wife." That's about it.
I'm going to say, with North Melbourne, they'll be doing that with their own players and kicking the goals, aren't they?
Not these days, back in the day, man.
What's been?
They're football players that have been football players their whole lives. Well, their morals don't really go that far into which team up you've been fucking that weekend and which one you got pregnant and had to marry. And
this conversation started with loyalty. It looks like that's what it ended.
Actually, that's the funny thing too. Ed Sheeran was the singer at the last GF, and his big song was about getting cheated on by his missus.
Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe someone had to say that.
Didn't even know Ed Sheeran was into women.
Apparently he's been into a lot of women. He gets around.
He was on with Tom Jones, and I tell you what, I don't think he could stack up with that list. Once Tom Jones brings out his little black book, it's got volumes.
Yeah. If you
like half of them were him getting confused with Sean Connery.
Yeah.
If you collected all the panties thrown on stage at Tom Jones, you'd drown. You'd die.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, shit. What
are we talking about? Loyalty.
He's been responsible for more widening tunnels than the Liberal Party.
So yeah, I think with loyalty there is the football teams will always try and play loyalty to keep a player, but it's when you hold it against a player for leaving. I think that's where the questions come into it. Right,
and it always comes up when the player's playing against their old side and the booing.
Yeah.
Now, I've got 2 points of view on it. Is one, if you pay your money to go in and watch the game, your ass is in that seat. You can boo whatever you like.
Yeah, I agree.
Boo the umpires. Yeah. Boo the Oz kickers if you want. You're a cunt, but you can boo the Oz kickers. I've always said there is nothing wrong with booing because you're engaged in the game. Yeah. If you're sitting there silent or you're not sitting there at all, that's a problem.
I get a bit embarrassed though sometimes when you see a kid get falconed and you're like, and you can't. Everyone looks at you. It's like. You got hit in the head with a ball.
No, everyone's doing the same. But you can't get a falcon.
Not a Melbourne match. Everyone's like, that was a small child. How can you?
Yeah, how can you not film it and send it into Australia's Funniest Home Videos and make $5,000 instead?
Well, in fairness,
$5,000.
Most Melbourne supporters don't.
Seen the prizes for home video? They're fucking ridiculous.
No, I haven't.
I think they sent JVC broke just by giving away all their shit.
They're still going, JVC?
Not now. They gave her all their shit on Home's videos, and now they're fucked.
Wouldn't surprise.
Speaking of home videos, old one of your mates, Zach Webster, he's had one.
He's had a couple by all accounts.
And I think the phrase "it's not gone well" would be appropriate.
Oh, it depends who you talk to.
Well,
apparently it went quite well.
To be fair, he took his licks, figuratively speaking.
He gave a few.
When it's obviously with the cops and it's a criminal matter. I don't know if it's gone criminal or not, but anyway, he's got community service and that kind of stuff. So and he went to the club, and it was before he got drafted, and said, "Look, this is happening." They went, "All right." Tried to trade him to St Kilda, but it didn't work. And
Boom, boom.
Now the problem became Hawthorn suspended him for 2 pre-season games.
Yeah, pre-season games.
I'd like to call that a slap on the wrist, but it's not even that.
Yeah, they also gave him this penalty after they had their team screening of the video.
Well, it's one way to get a reputation as a hard nut.
Well, I mean, he's also always been...
So, anyway, back to the loyalty, the fans' loyalty. It is funny how it works out, because I remember Gary Ablett going back to Skilled Stadium, or whatever the fuck it's called down in Geelong now. And everyone was... The Geelong fans, didn't want to get their thermos or their rugs messed up. But they were politely applauding him at the start. So this wasn't this year, this was 2013.
Yeah.
And then the Gold Coast were almost beating Geelong, and Gary got in a little tete-a-tete with Stevie J.
Yeah.
They weren't fucking cheering him then.
No. And
anyway, then Geelong kicked away, they got ahead, and Gary kicked that miraculous goal for the pocket. Then they were okay.
Yeah.
Right, this game's sorted, we can clap now.
Yeah.
But it's still, with they want to be polite, but at the end of the day, win's a win.
When the chips are down and it's getting close towards the end, then you find where your loyalty lies, and it becomes us first them mentality.
But that's great. You need that, and we spoke about it last week. Those rivalries, something that can build them up.
And that's another thing. I remember a few years back, I had a friend who was from Russia. He went to watch an AFL match. We watched heaps of AFL matches, but he was saying that the part that doesn't understand about Australian football is that there's no home advantage. Well, we're in Melbourne, so...
but no segregation of crowd.
Yeah, there's no segregation. And he's saying, in soccer, they go and watch the match, and let's say the ball goes out and it goes someone in the crowd. If it's the opposition's throwing, they'll fuck around, they'll give it to their mate, then the guy will ask for it, and they'll just chuck it as far as they can over his head. And he's like, the crowd, they go straight back to him, and fucking away they go. He said, there's no home court advantage. You've got to sit there, get in their face, boo the shit out of them.
Well, because you took him to a Melbourne game with two Victorian sides.
Yeah. Plus, he was over Hawthorn as well, so...
Right. So if you take him over, to Perth, he watches, Geelong come down and play Freo, it might be a little bit different.
Yeah, it might be a bit different story.
In fairness, those soccer crowds are a bit different. I mean, you've got to segregate the teams so no one dies.
Well,
but I remember going to Maracanã Rio de Janeiro, and they actually segregate based on how rough you look. Because we turned up and we're like, I'm there with my wife, who's the whitest person in the world, and you can see the security guards just going, oh no, no, you're level 2. Oh no, we've got tickets to the top level. Like, we're right at the front.
The security guard.
Like, no.
Security guard has a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other shoulder. Going, can I get the gringos? Can I?
It was actually quite fortunate because at the end of the match, we thought it was fireworks, but actually it was gunfire. People up in the third level were just popping off caps in celebration of Vashko winning. So yeah, I didn't die, which was good result in the end.
Yeah, they're working out for you.
So far, well. Yeah, I mean, those bullets had to come down somewhere, so I'm guessing someone wasn't happy about it.
And the thing is, my friend was Russian, so they're generally not impressed with anything anyway.
Which is, I can't understand that. You've got to be happy to be out of the cold at least.
Well, I remember when I went to Vietnam and went in the train, and it was just full of Russians. And even the Viet people who were running the hotel, because my girlfriend speaks Viet, they were telling us, all right, if you want to get in the buffet, you have to get in there before the Russians.
Really?
They just go in there and they clean it out. And so you walk into the buffet for breakfast, and the hall was just full of these miserable fucking Russian people eating fruit, and they eat everything. They eat all the eggs, And the thing is, you're coming from the snow in Russia and you're in tropical climate in Vietnam, paying, $5 a day for living like a king. And you can't even be happy to wake up with a smile on your face.
Well, they've just got, that resting face that says, I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah, that's true. And that's just from their mum.
Going back to pre-season penalties, you saw one of the new drafts, Blaine Boakhorst, his tweet.
The Carlton Twitter guy, yeah.
Yeah. He's going to be, that's his nickname now, Tweet.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about it most is that for 2014, Mick Malthouse was known as a bit of a sour-faced bloke. Sense of humour as your average German war criminal. But when Boakhorst came on board, the first thing he did apparently was go to Mick before training. He goes, I need to speak to you. And Mick's gone, nah, I'm going to let him cook. So he's like, all right, we'll have a chat afterwards. For now, we're going. And all training apparently is shitting bricks. And he's had a word to the other players, so they all know to stir him up. Said, oh yeah, Mick's not happy with you, mate. He's really, mate, if you're playing in Williamstown, you should be pretty happy this year. But, at the end of it, he's copped it pretty well. Mick's jumped on board, he's all happy with him. But that's a Mick Malthouse we haven't seen for 2014 and probably 2013 as well.
Yeah, well, he's not the answer to Eddie Maguire, so immediately that's going to be a great thing.
He breaks a record this year, Mick.
He does too.
Against Collingwood.
And he said he's sick of hearing about it. He just wants it over and done with. He doesn't care.
Yeah, of course he does.
But they were saying they let him pick who he's going to play that round, that game against, which I think is good for the AFL to put in that effort. But
I'm going to say it's the record. It's not like it's going to happen every year.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the following week he breaks a record again. Does he get a pick again? Because I see Carlton winning a lot of games. I think it's the pick who he plays each week.
It'll be Carlton versus Thunderbirds.
Williamstown under 18s.
St Kilda. Still going to play them. Something else I saw in the world of sport during the week, to go off onto the wider spectrum, Ronnie O'Sullivan scored another 147.
Really?
And it's one of those things. Like I don't mind watching snooker. When it's on late at night on Fox Sports 3 or whatever. Yeah. It's just you can see and you love when they play to get the snookers and try and get it out. Yeah. But something like that, 147, because it is perfection.
Yeah.
Love sitting down and watching that.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like seeing a 9 darter in darts, or
it's not the same without a pint in their hand,
or a cock show in 8 ball.
Yeah, somebody sweeping the table. Well, that happens a lot with the pros.
No, the actual cock show.
Yes.
You don't see many people actually man up and do the cock show.
Yeah, there are those websites. We'll let you know where they are later on. I love watching that kind of stuff. I remember being at the Northern pub once, and they had the Fox Sports Live was in the background. And when they start getting to 60 and 70, and everyone stops and starts watching, get there. No one's been following it. No one's got a clue what's going on, but you're all cheering for that guy just to get that perfection. It was awesome to watch.
And the thing is, it's not only the skill of being able to do that; it's the pressure that comes along with every shot that's coming up.
Yeah,
and being able to just cope with that. And
at that level though, there's a lot of it is just this is routine. I know what to do, and then you've got I've got to sink this one and break the reds. Yeah. So there's that pressure shot.
Yeah.
So even though you've got the 147 you're going to get to, there's only 2 or 3 pressure spots that matter, and those ones you deal with them, you get out. What amazed me was he's just scored the 147, and the next table over has stopped, and they're all watching. Yeah. Scored it, yeah, great. Thanks to the crowd, walked off, and went back into the sheds. I'm like, really, dude? Do a lap. Yeah. It's 147. I know you've got a few of them in your time, but still.
It's funny. Each sport has their own pressure shot, though. The 147, the 4-foot putt, the siren blown torp from 50 out. What would be I guess soccer's got their penalty shootout as well. Something that every player should do and be able to do. But when the pressure's on, the game's on the line, some players do it better than others. But what would you think is the pressure moment in rugby league?
Oh, there's always
Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah, Johnny is always. But
kick for the World Cup.
When the siren goes, play still goes on. Yeah, it's that one. You don't want to be the one that drops the ball.
And you can't just run straight into the defender and get tackled.
No, because you get tackled.
You have to try and parry.
Especially in rugby league.
Yeah.
Union's different because they've got to kick the ball out. Yeah, the ball keeps moving. It's not until there's a penalty or something, or a penalty, I think even it can still go on. But until they kick the ball out and there's that kind of stop of play. But in rugby league, especially when the siren's gone and they have that awful fucking... And then you see, pass. I can't get tackled. Yeah. It's so frenetic. Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. And then score the try, you still got the kick to come. And it's when that kick to come, that I think... to be able to handle that pressure when, especially the forwards, they're used to just hitting up, you just run, I'm going to get tackled, all right, passing it. Now you've got to offload every single time.
Now you hand it off to the wingers or where the fuck they are.
Just got to throw it back.
Throw it back to someone, yeah.
When they start doing the overhead ones, you're like, let's see where that one lands.
Every sport has a clutch shot as well. Like that, times run out, the ball's in your hand, whatever sport you're playing, or if you're playing golf, probably should have the ball in your hand, but or soccer. But who would you say is one of the better clutch players in rugby, or in AFL?
So you could have asked me to name one of the players in rugby.
Right, who'd you say is the best clutch player in AFL? Like your feet out, slide angle.
Oh, for a shot on goal.
Yeah.
Jack Gunston, I'd want. I'm always going to be biased and say Hawthorn players. But Gunston, if it's a set shot, or Bruce, because Bruce kicked, 60 goals, 10 or something this last year.
Well, you made it to 29 flat, didn't you?
29, yeah.
Or 28 or 29.
He equalled Lockett's record. But when he started to get up to about 26, 27, he wasn't having those shots from the pocket anymore.
No, he tended to handball quite a bit in the forward 50, which isn't a forward player's forte.
No.
Or Brent Harvey's.
But I don't know, when you say clutch player, when it's 2 minutes left to go and you're down by a goal, Clarkson always throws Burgoyne into the middle. He's the one, because you know that those skills are just not going to...
I'll tell you what, Robbie Gray in that semi, jeez, he played well.
Yeah, he did.
And, plenty of people are saying that... everyone was saying that Port Adelaide...
Robbie Gray.
Plenty of people are saying Port Adelaide could have won that game. Some people are saying Port Adelaide should have won that game, but you can't kick as poorly as they did.
And there's everyone who doesn't live in Port Adelaide.
They're not saying it much because...
You should stop doing these surveys around Centrelink.
The car gets stolen, you've got to pick it up somewhere.
Pick up a stolen car from Centrelink? Or no, you find a stolen car at Centrelink. Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. Who would you have?
Well, game on the line, I need that shot to go through the goal.
Yeah. From slide angle, 45 out, free kick.
Oh, there's a free kick? Oh, Lindsay Thomas. He'll turn that into a 50 easy.
Richmond's, their, oh my God, we need something, is send Dusty Martin to the goal square, everyone else piss off.
God? Can you help us out? Yeah, the thing is, we just need Dustin Martin, we need marriage, tap it down the butt, Dustin Martin, kick to Dustin Martin, mark on the lead, kick a goal.
Yeah, if you could get cloning sorted out, you'd be right.
And, it's hard to pick a Richmond player who you'd put in that situation because it's not often we've been in that situation to sort of get some groundwork.
A couple of times. I mean, there was obviously the Swans game, plus Carlton.
Matty Wyatt against Freo when he got on the run there and fucking kicked it into the goal umpire. Remember? In Freo, we should have beat him.
Yeah.
Then we traded him off.
Yeah,
so he's gone too.
Comes back and kicks goal of the year against you.
Yeah, and well deserved too. He's another player that didn't get booed from changing teams as well because
most of the Tigers didn't recognise him.
He got the arse, and most Richmond wanted him to still play at Richmond because he's fucking going well. But obviously, a player of that calibre doesn't want to be a sub.
Well, it's been years on now, and Jack Gunston still gets booed by Adelaide fans, which is fair enough. He was a young player who just got their best young player of the year. Yeah. And he went, actually, guys, I want to go back to Melbourne. Yeah, okay, you go, all right, champ, could have given us a bit more. But when you start booing guys that have left 8 years ago, you're like...
Especially when you've got a pretty good quality forward line.
Well, with Adelaide do now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
You could always do with more.
Well, yeah, but if you're going to get a Gunston in, you've got to get rid of Podsiadly or Walker. and they haven't done a bad job.
Yeah, you get rid of Pods in the second, wouldn't you?
So
not a hard choice.
How do you feel about assistant coach?
And they got Jenkins now too, who kicks some great goals this year.
Jenkins is killing it.
Yeah.
Plus, you got Sloan and people like that who can slip forward and do that damage if they need be.
And that's so important these days. Like, you need those players who can slip forward to be sneaky.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with
and I think that's obvious in the draft where people were expecting big men to be the ones that were sought after, but it seems like people targeted midfielders because...
You still need 10, 12, 14 midfielders running around there.
Yeah.
But, it's the bookends that are the rare commodity.
Yeah.
So they're always going to command more attention.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can always get the best players to trade in the players that you really need, depending if you have the high draft picks.
What do you mean?
Even with Richmond, we picked up all midfielders, but we need some tall stocks. And so if we can develop those midfielders, then we can trade in.
With Richmond's tall stocks, their off-season was really interesting in they kept Tyrone.
Yeah.
I thought he was gone for sure.
Yeah, I thought he'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
He'd play better without him.
Play better without him. But also, he's just always had that potential that's just not getting there. And I thought Griffiths, I like him as a player.
Yeah, he did well. He just, when he could stay healthy and fit, he did really, really well. And the other, who was the other one we had?
North Melbourne have got a ruckman you can have.
Yeah, I can't remember. Stevenson.
Oren
got
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might have. No, someone was going to pick up in the rookie. But the thing is, we've got Marich, who he's not a naturally gifted ruckman, as like he's not tall and he's not like Sandlands or whatever. But he's
got the fire.
He knows how to ruck.
Yeah.
He knows like how to. He's like Sam Newman. He knows how to do the job. And so if you get someone who's younger with like that natural height and things like that, who can be an understudy to Marich, I think would be excellent to send that club up to go forward with the midfielders that they've already got, to train the midfielders that they've recruited.
All you need is somebody capable.
Yeah.
Just you don't need to dominate the ruck. Just
Yeah.
give me 5 minutes rest.
Yeah.
And we know that we're not going to get smashed in the ruck.
Yeah, yeah. And especially if you can teach your midfielders to sort of play off the opposition's ruckman. If your ruckman's not very strong, and you saw it happen when Freo played
Hawthorn in the grand final.
Hawthorn, yeah, and Sandilands dominated. You know what I mean? But
to be honest, I think about just about every team does it against Sandilands because he is just you can't teach 7 feet.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you can teach where to tap the ball.
He wins a lot of taps, but not a lot of taps to advantage.
Yeah,
and they've got a good midfield, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm not an AFL coach, but I would think first thing you teach a ruckman is your job: get ball to little guy.
Yeah, but I mean, but like we said, there is every other team is going right. Well, Sandlands is going to win that ruck, so what do we do?
Yeah,
which you don't see any other teams looking like, or maybe a little bit against Nick Nat.
Yeah,
but then you've still got to worry: is he going to tap it to himself?
And that's one thing I don't think about is that if you're on the Freo side of things, you know what set play is going to happen. So you're running patterns.
You should know before the defender.
Yeah, you're running patterns around that ball up. But if you're the opposition, you're watching the ball.
Yeah.
That's all you can do is watch the hand, watch the ball, and you go and attack that. Whereas if you're running patterns and the ball, the ruck is always going to be dependent on where the umpire balls it up. Where it actually goes. Does he bounce it or does he throw it up?
The umpire balls it up a fair fucking bit.
But even now, if the bounce is too shit, they call it back.
But I'm not saying it doesn't have to be like really shit, but if it's 1 foot to the right, it's going to be a lot harder to do a downwards tap to
the other side
or something like that. Yeah. So those little things can, if you're a set play where, right, scoot around the back and go to the left side and we'll tap it down and rush forward. If it's gone too far to the right, then you can't do that anymore. So for the opposition players who are just watching the hand and the ball and where it's going to go, I think it could give them a bit of advantage.
Yeah, to a point, but these guys have pretty long arms, so a foot each way, as long as they're jumping the same spot, they can still reach, 45-degree angles either way. It's just when they've got to reach over their own head that they're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, but, especially Sandland's got a fucking big head.
Well, he's got fucking big arms too.
I think it goes him, Bigfoot Silver.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Who's got the
Todd Duffy? Actually, after Todd Duffy's fight today, I want to see Bigfoot versus Todd Duffy for Battle of the Primates.
Headbutt's illegal.
Just get them one on either side of the cage and run head first into each other.
Rams.
Get back up, do it again.
Actually, I did see, there's just been the adverts up for the Arnold Classic next year. Arnold Schwarzenegger's been doing those sporting events around the US, and now he's coming to Australia.
Yep.
Big thing is, it will be kind of funny to see bodybuilders and fighting sports next to each other, because you've got there's contact karate, there's BJJ, and boxing.
MMA.
I think there is an amateur MMA there as well, in the ring, not the cage.
I think it's on mats.
No, they got the boxing ring, so
Yeah.
down the bottom. But it is kind of funny to see the physical differences between the two breeds. You know, for a start, the bodybuilders are all covered in mahogany spray tan.
And they're sponsored by Nandrolone.
Allegedly. But it is just a weird sort of comparison on the guys that have muscle for looks and
Form
guys that
versus
have
function.
Yeah, exactly so. Because you're not going to get a lot of crossover there. Like a lot of even the strongman comps you see, those guys aren't often cut. They're just huge.
They're barefoot.
Yeah, exactly so. Which, you know, then you get to the point of these guys, the bodybuilders, you know, they train their ass off. I'll absolutely say that. For 3 minutes on stage.
What? They on stage at Stereosonic?
That too.
I think there is a lot of crossover.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see a couple of supplement stores closed up at Stereosonic. But it's just, you'd think some people might cross over. Like a bodybuilder might decide to have a crack at something.
That's what I'm worried about. The white belt division. There's some 120 kilo musclehead has decided, I'll give this shit a shot. And the next little guy's going, you know, jiu-jitsu, it helps. It's the small man over the big man. I'm like, that's a big fucking man, though. And you're a white belt.
Yeah. You do see those guys get guillotined a fair bit, though, when they lower their head and rhino charge.
Not a white belt.
No, they do tend to stomp. But, you know, it's the old saying, bigger isn't always better, but it's always bigger.
It is always bigger. Let's see who quits first. All right, I reckon that's an episode then.
Yeah.
Right, number 2 in the can.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for listening. Catch ya. All right, that'll do.
All right.
Catch ya.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.